Okay, good morning and welcome back to our usual class with Master Li-Hui. For those who are not yet follower of Li-Hui 老师, she's the eldest daughter of Li Deyin, a martial arts master. Li-Hui has been practicing martial art since a very young age under the very strict guidance of her father. She did her first degree in psychology in Beijing Normal University in 1988, where she represented the university in many martial art competitions and achieved excellent results. And then in the 1990s, Li Hui came to study in the UK and did her master's degree in business administration. After graduating, she's been involved in international dissemination and teaching of Chinese culture. She has founded the British Tai Chi Academy, British Health Qigong Association, and the Deyin Tai Chi Institute. And Li Hui has been organized training, performances, and competitions and lectures across all over the world, including the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Netherlands, and Switzerland. She hosted the third European Health Qigong Congress, organized by Taijiquan and fitness and health Qigong performances during the London Olympics and the Premier Football League football matches, and has been invited to attend the Davos Economic Forum and gave a Taijiquan lecture at the president's official residence in Ireland. Li Hui has trained a large number of Taijiquan and health Qigong enthusiasts, athletes, and instructors in the UK and in Europe. She has published more than 10 academic articles and teaching instructions in the most influential martial art and Taijiquan publications in the UK. Many of those things are well known to us, including the Introduction to Simplified Taijiquan, Sun-style Taijiquan practice, and Wudang Taiji sword, among many other articles. Li Hui's published a variety of English audio and video products on Taijiquan, Taiji sword, Taiji fan, health Qigong, and basic martial arts, also children's martial art, Xing Yi Quan and Wudang sword. Li Hui was assisted by her father, Master Li Deyin, to complete the publication of the monograph Taijiquan in English. She's currently the president of the Deyin Tai Chi Academy in the UK, vice president of the International Health Qigong Federation, president of the British Health Qigong Association, and the British Chinese Arts and Cultural Center. I think we are now looking forward to Master Li Hui's class. I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much for the introduction, Faye. It's a great pleasure to see everyone again. This is our 6th public lecture in a series to introduce the Yang Style 24 steps. And over the course of last 5 weeks, we have covered both in some of the underlying principles of Tai Chi, as well as the techniques of Tai Chi movements and postures. Now, I want to emphasize the theories and principles needs to be embodied and instilled or internalized into your practice. Quite often, I know that all of our Tai Chi enthusiasts like to listen to the theories, like to read books on the theories, and they're very helpful. They give a lot of insights into how the philosophy around Tai Chi is evolved, the principles. As well as reading, another aspect from my training, my own personal experience, is that the principles cannot be, or philosophies cannot be truly understood by the body and the mind and the breathing without adequate, relentless practice. And that's why from all of my ancestors in my family, from my great-grandfather and to each and every generation, not only they are, emphasis or stressed importance of reading the classics, but they also very much sort of focus on a daily practice. So what they always said to me since I was young is to this phrase, 全练千遍. Practice your Tai Chi 1,000 times, 全法自现. The method or the secret of principles will manifest itself. So what they try to tell me, they're all students, and now it's the same way I'm passing the way I teach my students, is that it is hand to hand. It's like the front of your palms and the back of your palms. They go hand to hand to read the classics and to recite the classics. But most importantly is try to internalize or to embody those philosophies and principles in your practice. So it's the practice itself in its work, without any too much distracting on, busy on the mind. Is that will help us to the discovers body's own wisdom almost, and they go together. They need to come together. So I'm very excited about today's session because we have come to the form, to the sequence where it's now a little bit challenging for the techniques. However, all of these techniques, remember, is a reflection or manifestation of the Tai Chi principles. So it would be working along the flow of the energy, flow of the, we need to tap into finding the flow of that natural transformation from body weight and from the arms techniques and movements. So today's movement are two, namely 下式独立, left and right forms of crouch down and standing on one leg. Originally or traditionally, these movements are divided into two movements. In the traditional form, they're made up by two. One is called 单边下式, like single whip and crouch down. The second movement, Goldern rooster, standing on one leg. In our 24 compact form, this movement has become one, but it actually consists two parts of the posture, and each part of the posture has a great deal of benefits to our overall physical and mental well-being. So that's why usually I would include 3 movements into a lecture. And because of the complexity or challenging aspect of these 2 movements, I've decided to just focus on the, the 2 complicated 2 movements and not 3. So we want the quality of the movements and not the quantity of the movements. First of all, I would like to remind everybody how these postures, 2 movements, are done in the sequence in our routine. If you have done your own warm-up, you may like to just follow me if you know the sequence, okay? You don't have to, you can just watch it for the first time. So I would like to invite you, either stand up and join me or watch in your seat. I'm just going to give a little bit adjustment to the camera. For the ease of watching, I just identified the last movement. The last movement, we should be finishing with left heel kick, left heel kick. So this is not the mirrored image. We're doing just facing the camera and do the last heel kick. The new movement today, 下式独立，左式。右式 the right side. Okay, so that's the continuous 连贯演练. So I've demonstrated these two postures as appears in the form. Now, as you can see, there's quite low postures and the high postures. Before we go on to the description of the movements, I would like to assure everyone these postures can be done safely and work within your comfort zone. You don't need to force the body to go very low. There are methods and practical help and tips to help the body increase flexibility, improve your coordination, flexibility, and strength. For this, that's why we're saying it's a little bit challenging. It does require a number of basic fitness level. However, this fitness level is done in such a way, it's a gentle release of your body freedom and help to get the energy moving with grace and control. So let's try to make a start preparing the body. Now, to be able to do a crouch movement, that stance, we call it 腹部 crouching stance. We do need to prepare the body. We should never approach these movements without any preparation and foundations, we call it 基本功. And so I would like to take this opportunity for my regular students that online to show you a few ways that you can prepare the body. So when you come to the form practice, your body is nice and warm and your joints are warmed up and ready to open up. Okay, so this is my first part of the basic foundations. You can certainly join me on this part, okay? So if you follow me now, we rest our hands to the hip and waist and feet together first and soften the ankles and knees. Take a wider step to your left, okay? Wider than your shoulder. I move to the center a little bit. Keep your feet parallel to front, okay, like a big number 11. Good. And when you're ready, we're going to try to identify there's a hollow alignments, like hollow stick or golden thread from the crown, the top of your head, all the way to your pelvic floor, 会阴. So run through the center of your body, through the chest, sternum, behind the chest, hollow. So this alignment, as if you are sliding this alignment down, okay, this golden thread. When you're ready, we're going to try to soften, sit down, soften your knees. That's it. Gently sit down and slowly rise. This is to warm up our hips, our knees, ankles, and our feet, and develop our roots. We need this for the crouching stance. Rest your hands at your hip and waist, and sitting, sliding. Feel the back of your spine sliding down a pane of glass. And slowly rise. Remind yourself, shoulders needs to be drawn down. Relax. Tuck chin slightly tucked in. So the crown is lifting upwards. So you can feel the elongation of the back of your neck. And lengthen the back tailbone, sliding down. And rise. Good. And now let's join some more hands movement. Open your arms. Imagine you have long arms, long fingers, reaching up high. Hands together, prayers hands. And draw the hands down, sitting as far as you comfortably can. Try to feel you sitting down onto a chair, imaginary chair, and slowly rise. The controlled, the better. Again, taking widespread inhale, deep inhale, and long, smooth exhale. Sitting. Good. One more time. Rise. Arms spread. Imagine you have long arms, long fingers. Keep rising, keep rising. Exhale, long and smooth. That feeling from the crown upwards and the tailbone downwards, it's very important. And slowly rise. Good. Now you can probably feel from that simple repetition, the hip crease, the folding in of the, I'll do the side view as you're sitting down, keeping the back nice and straight. And that sitting will starting to connect from the hip joint and the tailbone alignment into your knees, to the ankles and feet. This is one of the classic footwork that is very versatile, that can change into other stances. So now from this wider stance, we're going to change and to help further improve our flexibility. And this time, we're going to turn to the left. Use the same stance. Turn your toe out and slip the back of the heel away from the body. So now we come to a side stance. Rest your hands and hips on your hips and soften the front knee a little bit, but not too much, and just feel the knee is vertically on top of your ankle, and focus on the hip and pelvis and try to sink. Try to sink a little. Good. And rise, easing out. What we're doing here is try to waken up and connect the front thighs. This is the longest bone, the femur, the front muscle group. And here to lengthen that and stretch. So you can feel this bit, right? Good. Try to keep the shoulder to the back and easing out. One more time. Ease out on inhale and sink on the exhale. Up and easing out. Now let's take the other side and just to round the hips to the side and adjust your footwork. That's it. Sink. Inhale. We'll do one more time. Exhale. Well done. Good. Now we have warmed up from the hip and pelvis, all the joints, and now lengthen the front. Now we're ready to work on the crouching stance. Okay, the crouching stance we're going to approach today is from the bow and arrow stance. So watch for the first time. We're going to sink a little more. Now, after you've gradually worked, progressively open up. Work, 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 and down. Almost your thighs, top part of the quad, parallel to the floor. And then you start turn. Okay, if you can reach, if you have a yoga block, you can put your hands here to support. And then you turn. Can you see that? Okay, so this is important. When you go down far enough, then just rotate to the side and you will reach to naturally to the crouching stance. If you can't go so low, that's okay. Show you how you could do it at a higher stance. This is for example, then you just turn the toe and turn your hip. This is a higher one, or a little bit lower, but not too low. This is the lowest to your own comfort zone. Okay, so this method, if you practice regularly, it will increase the flexibility and strength of your leg work and gradually build up a pathway for the crouching stance to improve. I do one more demonstration on the other side, okay? And then we'll be ready to talk about the complete posture. Okay, so to the other side, sink far enough to your comfort zone. Feel that deepening of the stretch. If you can go further down, you can hands go down to the floor and then turn. Good. The method is the same, but you can adapt to the height. When you are down, checking for yourself if the far away leg is nice and straight. Good. And the toe is the far away foot is forward facing. Good. In your own time. And the bending leg, knee is in the direction of your toes. Whether it's a higher posture or medium high or low posture, the bending knee is pushing in the direction of your toes. Well done. Now turning the toe in, draw the heels, toes, heels toes in, and giving yourself a little shake. Okay. If you have a yoga mat and use yoga mat to help you, sometimes the floor can be a little bit slippery. So when you do a big stance and try to avoid any slippery surface, so a yoga mat can be very helpful here. Right, so let's have a look of the changes of the hands in this posture. After we have done the heel kick, left foot. After we have done the heel kick, tuck in, the hand changes, go through different stages. We will identify this stage. One. You'll move your left hand over to meet right hand. Right hand, make gently a hook from the corner facing, move in. Right hand will become a hook. This hook is the same hand shape as in single whip. 5 fingers gather in towards the thumb. Gather in and left hand moves in. The movement of the hands tend to follow the pattern or the rules of open. Palm, both hands open and hands close. Tai He. If you look many times, we have hands close, hands separate, open, hands close. Okay, single whip, hands closer and hands open. So this is the pattern in a curved manner. Okay, join up. This is the first stage. When you have your hands moving together, your drop and your foot touch down. This is 1. The second stage, 2. Continue working on the hands, turning to your right towards the hook. At the same time, 2, your left foot, reach out. Reach out where the position of your step is important. I retreat a little bit so you can see. You want to step out so that the toe of your stepping foot is in line with the back of the heels of supporting foot. This will help, this position will help the transition into bow and arrow stance from crouching stance. So this positioning here is important, strategic. At 2, 3, you can sink as much as you can to your own comfort. And 3, there's a technique called chuan, piercing. So your left hand, while you're sitting down, your left hand will travel along your hook arm through your chest and body to your abdomen. Through the abdomen, follow alongside of the inner thighs and continue towards the knee and the shin part. This technique is, this hand technique in Chinese is called chuan or pierce. Using your fingers of the palms, using the finger of the palm, The characters of chuan piercing is travel close alongside the body, any part of the body, and through, using the finger almost to jab, pierce, thrust. Chuan. Okay, so no matter what level your crouching stance are, you should always complete the hand technique, sliding down through the hook and change, follow along the inside of your legs, whether you can go low to a low stance or a high stance. The hand technique should be not forgotten. You should follow through. The common challenge here is that when you do the chuan at this stage, third stage, sometimes our temptation is that we can't go very low, but we want to go low. So, 心有余力不足, the willingness of the heart and the ability with the flexibility and strength hasn't quite ready. So this could happen. Try to reach down, not by sitting down, but by bending down and forward, okay? So this sometimes happens and can be seen as a common error. You notice, no matter how low or how high your stance are, that you should always try to maintain the body alignment to be straight. For higher position, you can chuan like this, and for a lower position, you can sit down. Okay, so have a certain element to keep the back straight as you're cruising along forward. Okay, so this is the first half of the whole movements. The second half is about golden rooster, standing on one leg. This technique involves a challenging aspect, which is the transition from a crouching stance into the standing one leg stance. And this, because of the low posture, very often we find the coming up is a little bit difficult. So I'm going to give you a few practical tips for my regular students to create a smooth, or try to work towards a smooth transition from crouching stance. Let's talk about the position first. From the crouching stance, not to worry about your hands yet, okay? Not too worried about the hands, just look at the footwork. I said earlier, your toe ideally now should be in line with the back of the heels, right? So from this side view, when you step out, when you reach to crouching stance, the toe should be in line with the heel. This is where it's useful and helpful. When you're coming out from here, then you need to immediately, maybe side view here, you can see better, right? The footwork needs to, as soon as you transfer weight, as soon as you rotate from the waist, need to release the toe and immediately soften the knees. Don't lock your knees and keep your leg tense, stiff. So we need to soften the ankles and knees and turn the toe out. The toe should not be turned out too early when you are still going through the threading, piercing, jabbing hand technique. If you turned too early while your hand techniques is still completing, technically, this is the standard setting the standard of practice, and which is done by many generations of masters. So you need to reach to the full technique, which is the 瀑布穿掌, crouching stance with your hands threading to the full. So don't turn it too early. But when you do need to turn, you need to turn smoothly. So as you're ready to turn, turning the toes, soften the knee, soften, 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 sit down. So your tailbone, your quad, as open, nice and open. This is why we practice horse riding stance. Sit down and cruising along forward. As you move the body weight forward, we round the toe inwards. Bring the toe in. And now we should be turning to complete to the bow and arrow stance. 弓箭步. Okay, so here is the sequence that for a smooth transition. I repeat once more, now with the hands. Okay, do the high posture. Ready, toe, go first, and soften the ankles and knees. Sit down, transfer weight, close the hips and turn the back heel in. Your hook will rotate and turn upside down. So the tip of the hook pointing upwards behind the body. The front hand is a 挑, a flick, almost after the jabbing, threading forward, and the front hand will flick. 挑 is the Chinese name. Upwards, and then sink the wrists. Sink the wrist down. The shape of the palm is not flat, but it's not totally vertical, 90 degree to a chop. It's not a flat push, not a chop, but somewhere in between. It's in between. Look, there's an angle to the palm, about 45 degrees. The energy should reach to the heel of the palm, edge of your palm. As you sit the wrist and rotate. You should, throughout the process, is a deep, dynamic stimulation of the energy channels around your legs. If you have studied or if you are familiar with the meridians of the body, we have legs, foot, 3 yin, 3 yang meridians, and they are they come round from our legs, the front, the inside, and the back. The crouching stance is a deep and dynamic opening, stretching of these meridians, stimulating, activating these meridians. It's on a fascia level, and this is the energy travel level. When the energy pathways is opened and deeply activated, then the flow of the energy, the volume and the smoothness will increase, rather like the volumes of blood traveling within the blood vessels. When the smoothness and the volume travels, it clears blockages and sort of like cleanse the body. The stagnation of the energy will be moved, and the excessive dampness, we call it in traditional Chinese medicine, those dampness will be, because of the rising of the yang energy, will be drying up as such as in the concept. It will be drying up and remove gradually from the body. And this is the underlying health benefits. Even though we don't regularly to say, this is, what you're doing is stimulating this particular meridian, like the bladder meridian or small intestine meridian. We don't actually specify, because Tai Chi is a holistic form of exercise. You're not just exercising on one particular one. By using the body as a coherent organic whole, you are stimulating all 12 main meridians in the body. Hands, 6 associated with your hand meridians, 6 associated with your foot meridians. So you're actually stimulating constantly all these meridians, trying to help improve our internal organs to function. Okay, so let's try practice again and then move on to Golden Rooster, standing on one leg. One last practice, okay, just on the left side. We could try the right side as well, because the right side is, we have a Golden Rooster in between. Right, just I do a mirrored image, okay, for our viewers. Okay, this time is a mirrored image. Left heel kick is here, okay, and 1. As you land, as you move your hands cross, make the hook, and 2. Reach out and continue to turn. Sitting down, 3. Do the threading with your hands, and 4. Smooth transition. Into the next part, Golden Rooster. Golden Rooster, turning the toe out slightly and shift your weight forward. Forward, balance on one leg. Bring the back leg up. Up. Okay, now coming up from the low posture, I give you 2 practical tips from the deep bow and arrow stance. First, turning the toe out. Try not to keep the toes forward. Why? When you keep the toes forward, when you try to transfer weight forward, it's a bit like walking on a tight rope in the mid-air. So your gravity is all centered on this spot. So try to turn the toe out a little bit, the front foot, 30 degrees. And then you create for yourself a little triangle-shaped area to balance your body weight. And then gradually shift your weight forward, 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 anchoring the knee to your foot, anchoring your hip and knees to the supporting foot. Keep going forward, keep going forward, keep going forward. Close the hips, soften the knees, okay? Feel the knees just coming in and then raise the knees. Doing this at a 2-stage, it would be better than 1 stage. Cruising along forward and then rise. It's much better for the balance. Many students finding this difficult to keep the balance is because they're trying to do, instead of 2-stage, they want to do 1 go, like this, okay? Many students would do this, okay? Can you see? So the body leans forward and then lift the foot from the back straight up. This is a diagonal stretch. This is a diagonal lift, which is difficult to keep the balance, also keep the smoothness. So the better way to do it is to keep the principles of Tai Chi. So we do the cruising along forward and plant our energy down to the front foot. So without doing the hands, turning the toe, planting, and continue transfer of the body weight to the front foot, cruising, closing of the hips in, and then focusing on lifting up and rise. It would be a much better way. Now follow with the hands from the bow and arrow stance, 弓箭步. Go 1, turning the toe out and cruising forward. 2, standing up on one leg. When you reach to the end of 2, standing up on one leg, notice elbow and knees are pointing. Elbows and knees are pointing. Toes slightly tucked in. The fingertips should be in line with your nose. Middle finger in line with your nose at your eye level. So your eye gaze through your fingertips forward. No. Down or cross the other side. Okay, so here is the front view of Goldern rooster standing on one leg. Energy, both the tailbone needs to continue to plant from the supporting leg down. Feel that your root is very strong underneath the Mother Earth. Crown, lifting up, grow. The heavenly window here is opening upwards. So the body, trunk of the body have this downwards, upwards stretch, internal stretch. And the hands, front and back, has front and back stretch. And sideways, it's expanding. Okay, so this is the alignment to Goldern rooster standing on one leg. So we repeat this left and right. You can use the replay of my earlier demonstrations to see the transition. That's all we have time to explain the movements for today, for this session. And you can practice, keep practicing and using the practical tips to improve the flexibility of your hips, knees, ankles, and to develop strength by the exercise I'll show you earlier today. Okay, I'm going to ask if we have a few minutes for question and answer time. So I'm going to ask Faye to see if there's any questions today.
The first question is Taijiquan. For the benefit of those who doesn't understand Chinese, the question is for Master Faye to explain. When you do the Goldern rooster standing on one leg, for the toes of the raised leg, is it pointing back downwards? Do you keep the toes down?
Yes, you keep your toes down. That's correct. Yeah, and not rather than pointing forward and or upwards.
Thank you.
之后的脚尖是下垂的。
Okay, I have another small question. It's quick. Sorry.
This question is about the distance of the 2 foot. When you pull the leg backwards, what's the distance between the 2 feet?
Okay, yeah, I was just reading the message from the message box. Okay, so the distance between the 2 feet, it really depends on individual's ability. If you are flexible, you could have a slightly wider distance. because you can crouch a little bit low and then you can move forward a bit. And for those who are not able to step, to handle such a big stride, then your width should be slightly narrow, shorter, slightly narrower. So there's not a one answer fits all. You will choose your own comfortable distance.
Thank you very much. That's my all questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a question from Tom Stacy. It's about is the heavenly gate point you mentioned the same as the Bai Hui point?
Yes, very right. The Bai Hui point is what the traditional, cultivator, 修炼. We describe the Bai Hui point as the window for the heavenly energy. So we want to keep the window open like a satellite dish to receive all the vibrant and healthy energy.
Okay. The next question is about waist turning during the snake creeps down.
Very good question. All of the questions are very good. And this is a little bit more involved. So as you step out, your waist should be rotating slowly and gradually to the opposite way. Okay, so for example, if you're stepping out towards your left, then your body, your waist should be slightly turning to your right. Okay, this is the ingenious ways of Tai Chi instilling or embodiment of Tai Chi principle. And that's what I reflected earlier. And sometimes it's difficult, perceived to be contradictory. Okay, how can you do that? But actually, that is how Tai Chi transform the energy into expansion and then to a contraction. Okay, so that's one example.
Okay, thank you. The next question is the transition between left and right turn. What do the hands do? While your feet are turning, what do the hands do?
Just to answer this question, right? So when you are standing on one leg and land, when you turn, obviously you need to turn the waist and body and waist turn, right? When you turn, what happens with hands? And as you turn, you grab the left hand. This is the second 右式, okay, the right form of it. So your left hand will become a hook and raise it, lift it up through the corner. Okay, the corner for me is over there. So from the corner, and the top hands will gently sweep across to meet the hands. If I demonstrate from here, okay, land and turn. So while you turn, during your turn, you raise the hook and move the palm across. Okay, it's quite straightforward, really. Just need to remember to keep the smooth flow of the energy.
Thank you.
Okay.
How about the mouth position? Is the mouth inside of the mouth? What about the tongue and the teeth position during the practice? Can everybody feel toe strength or only the front of the foot? What balance of turning point?
I answer, this is a number of parts to this question. So the first part of your question is about your internal aspect. Regularly throughout the Tai Chi practice, our regular requirement for the mouth is lips are gently closed. Okay, lips are gently no opening of the mouth, and particularly not gasping. Not gasping like heavy breathing. So gently closed, and the tongue is resting, touching the roof of the mouth behind your front teeth, and not using your tongue to press. There's no need to press. Just rest, touching, and gently seal up. And you may notice throughout the form practice, there's extra saliva being generated throughout. And that's a good sign and nothing to worry about. What you want to avoid doing is opening the mouth when you are tired, when that sometimes can happen. The second part of your question
is about the toe strength.
Oh, okay,
Whether
yeah.
the weight is on the toes or on the ball of foot.
Yeah.
And what about the balance?
Good. Thank you. Another good question. Just a little bit further follow up on that tongue position. The reason we're resting tongue here is to make that connection to like a closed circuit of energy circulation, and sometimes been described as a small oblique circulation. And without, I don't want to make that, right up front to say you're all the time thinking about oblique. The more you're thinking, focus on this moving or closing the circuit of orbit, the more distracting thoughts on your mind. Over the times, I find many times we're too much occupied by this theory and thinking about this theory. I must feel this way, I must feel that way. We don't even know how the dantian actually feels. How can you sync qi to dantian if you don't even know where dantian is or how the dantian, feeling? So always the first stage of every cultivation starts to increase the awareness of your body. You need to be quiet enough in your mind to feel the body, and then you can actually do something about it. Like, in the location, you need to know the location of these energy gates before you can actually direct the energy. So sometimes I avoid using big, like impressive terms, is to open up more practical opportunities to lead you to a natural organic awakening of the body. Okay, come to the second question about the balance. The balance is the front of your foot, okay? Of course, your balance of your foot has the heels, the arch of your foot, and the ball of your foot and your toes. They all together, all of them, they actually provide a vital roles in your balance. So not, in any one part is the most important. They all play an important, including your 5 toes. 5 toes are grabbing, you're expanding and connecting with the floor. But of course, the ball of the foot is also an energy gate, a bubbly spring point located here. So you want to use that as a point with the 5 fingers to support. And that way you create a much bigger, stronger area to plant your roots. Does that help? I hope that helps.
I feel that my foot is not flat. Is that right?
So what do you mean your foot is not flat? Sometimes when you're trained enough number of times, when you're trained a lot, sometimes we describe the feeling of the foot. It's like you're like a cupping, many of the Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine practitioners use this cupping method, which is like a suction, to grab the skin and to elevate or suck away the coldness, dampness of the body. And sometimes we use this term to describe your foot. So the center or the arch of your foot, it's like the cupping, is kind of like suction to it. So if that it is what you mean, you feel your foot is not flat, that can be a good thing, but only with a lot of practice. I have to say, it's not something that you immediately will feel that way, or at early stage of your practice you will feel that way. It is a very experienced practitioner will be able to actually feel the way I've described just now. But otherwise, it probably because you need to practice more with standing still, like zhan zhuang positions, to waken up more of your senses on your feet.
Okay, that's wonderful. There's no more questions, and I think we've gone over time. Thank you very much, Master Faye.
Okay, thank you very much for everyone taking the time, getting up in the morning and to join me live.
Would you like to remind us your next session, please?
Yes, the next session will be the first Sunday in July. I think that's the 2nd of July. At the same time, UK summertime, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I think Central European time would be 10 to 11, and Beijing time would be in afternoon. I think 5 to 6 p.m. Yeah, I think that's
okay. Also,